¿Qué tal mis queridos guerreros y guerreras? ¿Cómo están? Espero que muy bien. Este video es un fragmento de la entrevista que tuve con el señor Antony Cummins, que es un autor, historiador y practicante de artes marciales. Es una persona que sabe muchísimo sobre el tema de los ninjas, los samuráis y el Japón feudal, que ha viajado a Japón, ha vivido en Japón varios años, ha recolectado varios pergaminos, los ha traducido, ha hablado con muchas personas. Entonces, en mi opinión, es una fuente muy confiable y creo que puede aclarar muchas de las dudas que existen o incluso desmentir algunos de los mitos. Si quieren ver la entrevista completa, va a estar aquí abajo en la descripción de este video, pero por favor tengan en cuenta que con estos videos no buscamos desacreditar ningún estilo, ningún arte marcial, ninguna filosofía, ninguna práctica que ustedes tengan. Lo que siempre les digo, si algo te gusta, te hace sentir bien y te hace bien, entonces ve y entrénalo y dedícale tu tiempo. La única intención que tenemos con estos videos es encontrar la verdad y tener una imagen más clara de la verdad, sin sesgos y de forma completamente objetiva. Así que espero disfruten este pequeño clip y los invito a ver la entrevista completa. De nuevo, tanto la entrevista como el enlace para comprar uno de los libros del señor Cummins están aquí abajo en la descripción del video.
And on that topic, I would like to address the famed Bushido code. You're talking about how the samurai actually perform war, and we have seen on different films and movies, or even anime or books, sometimes even we have read about the samurai being these honorable warriors, which I guess they were honorable in their own in a different kind of way. Like you say, they wait for the enemy, they only use a katana, they never attack from the back, they never disrespect the enemy. This very archetypical knight figure, and a lot of times I get asked a lot about the code of Bushido, this supposed code that the samurai practice, the samurai respected, and that they used to live by. What is your opinion about Bushido? Was it actually a code that the samurai lived by, word by word, or was it something different?
Right, it's bizarre you should ask that. I'm at the moment, my new book, which will be out in 2022, I think, February, is actually going to be called The Book of Bushido, and it's one of my biggest books that I've written. So I've just finished a massive research project on Bushido, and there's some points here that people don't quite get right. And the biggest myth is that Bushido started in the early 1600s or the late 1500s, and it was a code used by the samurai only after the warring period, only after the Sengoku period. But actually what you find is the word is much older, but it is called Mononofu no Michi, which is the same ideograms, means way of the warrior.
Right.
And actually the reason we see a shift in Bushido is because in the 1600s is because the Tokugawa government take over and they solidify Japan. Nobody's allowed to move, and suddenly they have to put a lot of new laws in place. So before the Tokugawa, you have a lot of Buddhist views, but after or during the Tokugawa reign, there's lots of Confucianist views. So suddenly you get Confucian values. You know, honor your master, honor your father, and
right.
All of this sort of typical Bushido becomes evident because of Confucianism. However, before that, it doesn't mean that the samurai didn't have a code of honor. That they totally did. In fact, they had family codes and they had different ways of behavior with a more Buddhist slant. However, Bushido is not how you would expect it at all. I've looked totally different. I've looked through all the Jesuit accounts, you know, the missionaries who used to go to Japan, and I've compared them with actual history. And one of the things that's totally obvious is that the samurai had no problem with treachery, deceit, you know, killing their own masters. In fact, the commentators on Japan used to say samurai would keep their swords with them because even their friends would kill them for political gain. You know, they were just literally murdering each other. But you have to remember that the Sengoku Jidai is absolutely that. It's a time when samurai were going against samurai. And it always makes me laugh, is if Bushido was absolutely real as we believe it in the common, you know, understanding, then who is the enemy of the samurai?
Exactly.
You know, if all samurai are honourable and good and never do any wrong, nobody would have a fight ever. So
right.
it's Japanese history is full of people getting decapitated at the dinner table, people like exchanging hostages because they know. And for example, it's one of the most famous ones that I always say is Tokugawa Ieyasu, considered the greatest samurai, leader of all time. He actually killed Hideyoshi's son, Hideyori, Toyotomi Hideyori, after he promised to look after him.
Wow.
And he went to Osaka Castle and said, they fought at Osaka Castle, and he said, I'll tell you what, if you fill your moat in, the moat, the water surrounding the castle, we'll just let you off. So he fills the moat in, and then he goes in and kills everyone and executes the entire family and all the lineages. And so they can't take back over Japan. And that was a samurai, who's the greatest samurai, with a death cop to look after him. And you're like,
wow.
So Bushido's there, but it's totally different.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like. But I guess in the end, the samurai were warriors and professional warriors, dedicated warriors, and a warrior does what he has to do in order to win,